down. We the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard, pre-Christmas and Week 16 in the NFL. We've had some very pleasant developments over the last week in this league, to say the least, and we'll get into all of them. First of all, Smokey, how are you doing?
I'm not good at all. You know what? I am dissociating right now, as I tend to do when the team gets this bad. I am no longer a Falcons fan, so I am better than Falcons fans right now. Because this team is absolutely horrible. I do not want this coach at all anymore. I think he's ruining a quarterback that could be developed. He's wasting elite players out there. And I am so mad. You know what, Alex? It must be really nice to be a fan of the best team in the entire league, because I don't know what that feels like. How are you,
Alex?
Been
a while, huh?
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm
if
good.
Ever.
I'm better than most fans, I'd say. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. I'm not speaking from like an ignorant point of view here, right? I gotta say, when your team is really good and is winning games, you gotta cherish it, because it's not gonna last forever. NFL, right, stands for not for long. I've been through a phase of a couple of years where the Niners stunk. I mean, they were bottom 3 team between like that's 2014 to 2017. They were terrible until Kyle Shanahan showed up. So I know what both sides of the coin look like, and I'm sure taking the highs right now because it's going pretty good. And the way Brock Purdy's playing, I have a pretty good hope that it's not going to look any different for the next 10 years, which is a very good problem to have. So I'm better than most fans at the moment. Question about you, or for you, is really like obviously you don't see the future being bright for the Falcons with Arthur Smith. Like, it's not like the only reason they're in a playoff discussion is because they're in the weakest division in football. Do you want them to make the playoffs this year from a long-term perspective, if it meant that maybe he gets to keep his job for longer?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I don't know that I want Arthur Smith at all. So maybe losing is not the worst thing at this point. I would really like a new coach. And I hate that this probably ruins Desmond Ridder's career, because from what I'm hearing, he's going to be replaced again by Taylor Heineke. And this may have just wasted a quarterback that could have been developed in the future. And he could have actually been something. Think of what Desmond Ridder could do with a coach like Kyle Shanahan, or McDonald. Someone who can actually develop a quarterback. Arthur Smith is not that guy. Yeah, maybe we should just lose out. Maybe this is a good thing, and we can get rid of Arthur Smith and get another coach in here who can actually develop players.
Possible. And maybe draft a quarterback?
Yeah, well,
depending on how they fall.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, yeah, it's obvious, because I think they've ruined his confidence is one thing. That is totally shot now, I believe. But we've seen the guy have flashes. We've seen Desmond Ridder have flashes. This guy has the record for the most wins ever in college football. He is a guy that absolutely could have been developed. He has the athletic profile. He's not a bad quarterback, but I think coaching is the major issue here. But I don't see any other team just taking a chance on him unless it's a backup role, and maybe like we've seen this year, tons of backups actually come into the game and do something, improve themselves, and hopefully get long-term jobs in the future. So maybe that's what we're looking at for Desmond Ridder. I hope so. I don't want his career to be ruined, because I still think the guy has something to give to the NFL. I just don't think it's going to be with Arthur Smith at all.
Yeah, it's looking weird, like kind of in purgatory there as the Falcons, because it would be much easier to pull the trigger on a rebuild if you were already down and out, right? But given the situation with the division, it's still like a fight for the playoffs every week. So they still do their best every week. It's a weird one. I guess you could look at it in a positive light either way. But we'll see. I'm curious to talk about this, and I need to hear some answers and some opinions on this. Every week we do this. Who is your MVP in the NFL? We have 3 weeks of regular season play left. So this is not hypothetical anymore. This is who is currently the MVP, and whoever is currently the MVP has a very good chance of being the MVP. So this is concrete talk now. Smokey, who's the MVP this year?
Well, right now, this is not set in stone, but right now it absolutely is Brock Purdy. But all three of the front runners right now, you got Tua, you got Purdy, you got Lamar. I'm taking Dak out of this because that was a horrible week. That was one of the worst weeks ever for someone who could be considered an MVP quarterback. So I'm taking Dak out of it. It's between those three guys. And we saw Purdy have a down a few weeks in the middle of the season. So I'm not saying it's set in stone. This could absolutely be taken by either one of these three. Lamar would be, bringing up the rear of those three. And I think it's down to really Tua and Purdy. But Purdy is in the lead at this time.
Thank you for saying that. I thought I was the only one. Not anymore this week. Actually, a lot of people have been getting around to it. The media's been kind of getting around to it reluctantly, I will say, because a lot of people still cannot agree with their egos. The fact that, Mr. Irrelevant, a seventh round pick, a last pick in the draft, can absolutely be the NFL MVP. That's exactly what we're looking at this year. Brock Purdy by now. And I gotta commend the sports books for this as well. The prohibitive favorite to win MVP over Lamar Jackson, who's in second place now after that showing by Dak Prescott and Josh Allen. And a riddle to me that I still don't understand. Tua's fallen. He is now at number 10, 9 or 10.
Wow, really?
Yeah, number 9.
Really?
And what has he done to lose it? I mean, I get that obviously the other players are good too, but he was the front runner for a long time, and the only thing I can think of to say against Tua is that he hasn't really beaten a lot of very good teams. The Dolphins beat and blow out the weak teams, and then they struggle and lose to your Buffalo, your Kansas City. What's he done to really lose it?
Maybe that's it. Maybe they're making the claim that he's depending on the run game there, which we talked about offline. Mostert is having a wonderful season, and Devon Achane is a wonderful running back also. But I don't understand. I mean, he just dominated one of the best defenses in the league, regardless of their offense. He still dominated, and people were saying he wouldn't be the quarterback that he is without Tyreek Hill. So what happens? Tyreek Hill goes out, and Jalen Waddle looks like Tyreek Hill. That's quarterback. Tua was extremely accurate this week. Regardless of the close loss the week before, he came out and had a dominant display this week. I don't understand him falling that far down at all.
I don't understand that. It just kind of trickled down over the weeks. And whenever I make my poll every week, I still feel like I have to include him because surely he's a top 4.
Absolutely.
If I had to rank him right now, I'd go Purdy at 1, obviously, and then to me, it's really between Lamar and Tua for number 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you can do whatever. You can go Dak, you can go Josh Allen, or if you want to be hip about it, you can put McCaffrey or Tyreek Hill. Yeah. But by the way, Christian McCaffrey has pretty good. He's the 5th favorite right now. He's in the top 5, so only 4 quarterbacks ahead of him, which is crazy to me for running back this late in the season. But Tua, I don't really get it. Don't understand why he's not being considered.
Wouldn't that be something though?
It's weird to me.
Purdy, people were just so dead set against Mr. Irrelevant becoming the MVP that they go with Christian McCaffrey.
I mean, listen. If a 49er wins the MVP, I'm not going to complain either way, right? Yeah. What, of course, would be the best case that could possibly happen to me is Purdy winning the MVP and McCaffrey winning Offensive Player of the Year, which I guess is fair, right? If you interpret the awards as the MVP being the quarterback and the offensive player being the non-quarterback MVP, that is the fair way to distribute them right now, though I highly doubt that they would give both awards to the same team. I don't think that's going to happen. So if Purdy wins the MVP, I believe that probably Tyreek Hill is going to an Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, absolutely. But as long as the 49ers keep up, I think this week may bring an end to their murderer's row run of the gauntlet here after they face the Ravens. If they can just hang on to it, I think you may be in line for both of those to happen.
This weekend is deciding the MVP race.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident.
Yeah.
This weekend
that one game may decide it.
that one game is going, especially if the Niners win. Because Purdy's a big favorite now. If the Niners win and he plays better than Jackson, it's done.
Well, think
Lock
about
it in. It's done.
There's 2 games this week that are both considered the game of the week, in my opinion. You've got Tua versus Dak. You've got Purdy versus Lamar. So
you do, yeah.
These 2 games may actually decide a lot.
Those are some MVP favorites. That's very true. I think these are the exact 4 players that are in the poll this week. Right there. So that's for everyone who doesn't know, by the way. There's a poll, vote on the channel page where you can go pick your MVP and some other awards as well throughout the week, for this week or for every week, and let us know why you picked that player. I'm curious to see the results. The results from last week were a bit closer than the week before. Lamar Jackson's still the fan favorite. I can't say I agree with it. I'm glad that the sports books are getting it right and rightfully giving Brock Purdy the big favorite. But a lot of people can't get over that Mr. Relevant thing, and I'm curious to see how many years it takes. You know, I'm sure it went similarly for Tom Brady though. And that was in an age before social media and so many people, profoundly unqualified people, being able to voice their opinions so openly. So maybe there was a lot of people thinking the same way, but you just didn't hear about it that much. I'm curious to see how it goes for Brock and how many years it takes for people to realize who he is. But if he wins the MVP, maybe then next year people will talk differently about him. But that's a discussion for the next weeks as well. We always play this game on this show, and you've been astoundingly good at this year. Guess the biggest spread, and as the name suggests, you need to guess the biggest spread of the week in the NFL Week 16. What do you got?
Now, this is a tough one here because there are 4 games that I'm looking at that should be a large spread. One of them I see is the Chiefs versus the Raiders, but the Raiders just put up an offensive performance for the past few seasons. That was ridiculous. So maybe with the Chiefs playing somewhat bad over the past few games, that's closing in. Also looking at the Lions versus the Vikings, and the Vikings are on a downward spiral. The Lions just blew out a team, so maybe they're in there also. The Packers and Panthers, just because the Panthers are the worst team, but the Packers haven't been good over the past couple of weeks either. I think the biggest one has to be the Bills and the Chargers right now.
Well, you're right again.
Oh, sweet.
Yet again. One of the few times that our road team actually has the biggest spread, which is crazy, with the Eagles playing the Giants at Philadelphia, and still the Bills are a bigger favorite, which tells you everything you need to know about the state of the Chargers. Question is, this is the ultimate test for your theory of the 2-game bump. Because if the 2-game bump is real, the Chargers ought to win this game.
Yeah, that's a tough call because this one may go against the trend there. Which the trend doesn't pay off every single time, but 90% of the time it does.
Okay,
and we've
so
seen
we'll
it.
make an
We've
exception.
seen it this season happen. So I mean, maybe
That's
I
true.
doubt it. I seriously doubt it because the Bills look like they're on a tear right now. Josh Allen looks like the Josh Allen of the past few seasons. So that is a really tough call if anyone's picking the Chargers to win that game.
I certainly agree with that, but you got it right. So we will see how these week's games are looking just after we recap last week. And Smokey, how are our results looking? We're close on the season. How was last week?
Yeah, not bad. This was actually a really good week. Yours was a little better than mine. We disagreed on 3 games. You took 2 of those, and those were the Broncos and the Lions. Like I said, the Lions just blew out the Broncos. And
Justice.
yeah, which I can't hate on. Because listening to Sean Payton after the game, I'm like, that guy absolutely deserves it. So it is what it is. Sean Payton, enjoy that. What did we pick? Oh, I picked the Bears to beat the Browns, and they had that game won.
Wow, yeah.
Yes.
Multiple times.
Yes, absolutely. And the Texans and Titans. The Titans had that game won also. Actually, you got 3. I didn't even realize this. You got all 3 of those. Yeah, so I gotta give you an extra.
Right, they turned it
extra
around.
point there. But still, not a bad
That's
for
good.
both of us. Oh, actually, that puts you back in the lead here. 134 to 135 overall.
How many was I down last week?
You were down 1 game. Oh, wait.
Shouldn't I be up by 2 then?
Wait.
Or is my math bad?
Wait. No. Okay, I see. I had us tied, but
I made up 3 points this week, right?
Yes.
So
I'm 133. Okay. 133 to 135. Yes.
Okay. Still bad season total, I guess, but a good week at least. And I'm very glad that it went my way. Yeah, I'll tell you, between the Browns and Titans, at least one of them should have flipped probably and made it a closer one, but I got lucky this week, so I will take it. I think I deserve all these points just for believing in the Lions and not picking the cursed Broncos there in that one. So I'll take the coin flip going my way. It was a good weekend. Probably about the optimal weekend I could have had as a Niners fan and picking this with the Eagles and Cowboys both getting beat, Niners winning. I think it was probably the best NFL weekend I've had in a while, all things considered. So I'm trying to keep that streak up this week. Let's see what we have. First, on Thursday night, we have the Saints, which is a game that's relevant for you, at the Rams.
Yeah, and per our earlier discussion, I don't even know if it is anymore, to tell you the truth. I actually picked the Saints to win this division earlier in the season because I thought the Falcons were one of those teams that were going to struggle early on. Figure it out at the end of the season. It seems to be the reverse of that at this point. So I don't really care if it's the Bucs or the Saints that win this division anymore. Actually, you know what? I hate the Saints so bad, I'd rather the Bucs win. That's why right now the Rams are on a tear, and the receivers are looking wonderful once again. Man, Stafford looks great right now. If he would have been in this form all season, he would absolutely be in that MVP race also. But here we are. I am going to be picking the Rams at home.
Yeah, the Rams looking to make a late season playoff push, and they're certainly in the running. Now, I have to say, after this, I'm going to be rooting for the Saints here, unfortunately, for you, because, again, for the exact same reason, right? You root against your rivals, so I don't want the Rams to have any kind of success. I don't want to have to play them in the playoffs. I don't want to have to deal with them, so I'm rooting for the Saints. Not that I'm scared of them. I think the Niners are going to beat the you-know-what out of them, but I just don't even want them to get that satisfaction. So I will take the Rams in this game. I will not root for them, but I can't argue with what you said. They looked pretty good. The Saints looked very mediocre. The Rams should be able to win this one. And maybe it's a chance for the Falcons, who I, by the way, picked to win the NFC South ahead of the season, to draw close again and make it an even playing field. But they have their own hands full, as we will learn later on. First, we have the Bengals at the Steelers.
Jake Browning over, we have come to find out. My prediction has come true, and Rudolph will be playing this game on Christmas. I guess a little earlier than Christmas, but still, we typically see the Steelers play on Christmas, and it would be fitting that Rudolph saves the day for the Steelers. Unfortunately, Rudolph is not a great quarterback, and he hasn't saved many games in his entire history there in Pittsburgh. So this one's in Pittsburgh, so it does make it a little tougher, and it's a divisional game. Man, these two teams are very close, but I have to go with the momentum right now and say that Jake Browning can continue winning somehow, which is improbable, but it's actually happening, and I think Rudolph is probably going to struggle. Even though it's Christmas time, he's still going to struggle. I'm going to go with the Bengals on the road.
Agree, taking the Bengals there. Steelers are completely inept offensively. It's really looking like this is the first losing season for Mike Tomlin, and it took a lot. It took the starting quarterback getting hurt and just a wildly underperforming offense that's not capable of doing anything. The Bengals were primed for a downfall when Burrow got hurt, and somehow Jake Browning turned out to be a very serviceable player, and I'm curious to see what happens there in the offseason. There might be a team that takes a chance at Jake Browning. If they can't really get a good draft position, or they are looking for something cheaper in free agency, give the guy a shot, maybe. So he's currently possibly playing for a pretty big job contract himself for next year with another team, and I think he'll continue to do that by keeping the Bengals in the playoff conversation. Very legitimate argument to be had, even though the AFC is tough. The Bengals are in position to make a push, and they will continue to do that by beating the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Bills at the Chargers with the biggest spread of the week, as we have learned. Bills are 12-point favorites on the road.
That is a huge spread. But they deserve it. I really do, because I think the Bills are back to form. I guess, as we've seen in this season, that they could blow it at any time. But I want to believe in the Bills, because that's always been kind of my second team, and I've always loved Josh Allen. And I think when he is on his game, no one can beat the Bills. They're just that good. Except for the Chiefs in a playoff game here or there. But the Chargers, now, do I want to? Last time I said, because this bit me when I did not pick the 2-game bump team. So it bit me, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to pick against the 2-game bump again. But right here, I don't know how you don't pick the Bills. That would be so hard. And I commend anyone who has the courage to pick the Chargers in this. Staley is gone. Rejoice in that. Next season should be better for you guys. But right now, I'm going to stick with the Bills on the road.
Yep, agree. Bills have been crazy good. I mean, they took the Cowboys out back. That was one of the most impressive games I've seen all year, along with, I think, maybe the Niners and Eagles, the way they beat them at Philadelphia. So Buffalo's looking back. They were at one point, I think, at less than 20% chance of making the playoffs. Now they're knocking on the door. I believe they're going to win out, and they are beating the Chargers as part of that. It's one of the weakest teams in the league at the moment. I'm not buying into the 2-game bump, so Bills keep rolling. Colts and your Falcons.
Yeah, the Falcons are horrible, if I haven't made that clear yet. Arthur Smith is the worst coach in the league, and he can join Robert Saleh and Matt Nagy and whoever, and Staley, in the offseason and looking for new jobs. Hopefully that's the way this plays out. Maybe Saleh will keep his job. Maybe the Aaron Rodgers coming in will keep that. But the Colts are looking decent. They're getting wins here and there. Gardner Minshew looks absolutely capable, and that's why, since I'm not a Falcons fan anymore, I will be picking the Colts on the road.
Not a Falcons fan anymore.
Yeah.
For how long is that going to be? If they win this week, and the Saints and Bucks lose, you're going to be back?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay. So it's like a week-to-week thing.
Absolutely.
It's kind of with like in the USFL, right?
Day-to-day fan.
All right,
yeah. Like an injured player.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
That's right. I get it. That makes sense. Yeah, give me the Colts as well. I mean, I really like to try to like the Falcons and advocate for them, but there's just too much of a mess going around now with switching the quarterbacks on a weekly basis. No one really seems to know what they're doing, and the Colts have been awfully impressive. I believe they would be one of the worst teams in the league. Dan Anthony Richardson went out. Don't think it hurt them as much as some people would assume, because I don't think he was a very he's not a very experienced player and a very raw talent, so it's not the worst thing ever for him to sit with a capable backup. But the Colts currently have a winning record. They are currently in the playoffs. If the season ended now, the Colts are in the playoffs, which is much more than I would have expected off of them. So I will take him to win at Atlanta. But I will also say this. I think for the Falcons, this is probably... Yeah, this is as close to must-win as it gets. With 3 weeks to go, you're a game behind in the division. You have to win. You have to defend home turf and beat the Colts. Let's see if Taylor Heineke can do it, but I'm sticking with Indianapolis here. Packers at the Panthers.
Man, it was only a few weeks ago that everyone was thinking the Packers are absolutely legit, right? Like, they looked like they were on a tear, and Jordan Love was going to work out perfectly fine, but Jordan Love is still showing flashes. He still looks like he can be a great quarterback one day, but he still isn't quite developed. I've made the comparison to Desmond Ridder all season. Here's another game where that played out right here. And it just so happens that they're playing the team that the Falcons played last week in the Panthers. The Panthers are not good, even though they got that rain in the constant downpour. And I really hate how weather has affected these games so far this year, because we've seen a lot of stinkers. It wasn't just the Falcons and the Panthers. We've seen 3-0 games and things like that, and lots of zeros this year. So weather has definitely played its part. It probably will again in this game. It might even be snowing up there in the frozen tundra. But the Packers are still the worst team in the league. Maybe the Falcons are right there with them now. But I'll be taking the Packers on the road.
Yeah, I'll take the Packers. I mean, the Panthers just won a game, if I remember correctly, not too long ago, maybe a couple days ago.
Yeah.
It was a terrible game, but they beat a team. So can we really call them the worst team in the league this week?
Well, the Falcons are trying to get there, that's for sure.
It's trying to get there. Panthers still have the worst record in the league, though, so I guess they still qualify. They still sit at the first overall pick. I'm taking the Packers to win. The Packers are exactly what I thought they would be before the year. Maybe slightly better than I thought what they could be before the year, but that's about it. Not really in conversation anymore for the playoffs. I mean, they are only a game behind, but I don't know. This team does not belong in the playoffs by any means. The NFC is very top heavy. I'm just noticing there's not. If you look at the NFC, there's like really 4 teams that you would say should be playoff teams. In the Cowboys, Eagles, Niners, and Lions. And I don't think any other team has done much to really deserve it, but a couple will be getting in. Maybe the Packers can be one of them. They have to win. I think they will win against the Panthers. That's because the Panthers are bad, but that's about all there is to say about this one. Packers get it done. Browns at Texans.
You know, there's a game we play at the end of every season, and it's called Who, or what is it? Guess who is still, guess if this person is still in the league, whatever we call it.
Right.
Case Keenum would have been on that list had he not played this game.
And so would have Joe Flacco.
Yeah, exactly. I had no idea Case Keenum was still in the league. But here he is. He actually got the win. And that's such a Case Keenum way to win also. They really shouldn't have won that game. That is so true. But hey, maybe CJ Stroud is coming back in this game. And if he is, the Texans or they have a really big chance to win this game. But Joe Flacco looks good. And the connection he has with David Njoku. I've always thought David Njoku was probably one of the best tight ends in the league. He's just never had a quarterback to actually get him the ball like that. And here he has it. He's found it in Joe Flacco, which is amazing. So it really does make this game hard, because if CJ Stroud is back out there, this is going to come down to the wire, in my opinion. And it's going to be tough for the Browns to pull this one off, because it's in Texas. It's in Houston. Case Keenum will actually play for the University of Houston, as a matter of fact, too. I just remembered that. So it's kind of fitting if he does start. You know, he'll be back at home anyway. I'm taking the Texans at home.
I will also take Houston. But I will say, okay, both of these teams, we agree, won games that they very easily could have lost and maybe should have lost last week. So both had their fair share of struggles. Maybe more excusable for Houston because CJ Stroud was out. For the Browns against the Bears, who are not a very good team, they damn near gave it away on the last play, and it took them a miraculous comeback, which that last touchdown looked a lot like the Minneapolis Miracle to me. There was Stephon Diggs, the sideline catch and just toe tapping and going all the way. I think it was Amari Cooper. That was already miraculous enough, and then they somehow hung on to against that Hail Mary, which should have been caught. No impressive wins between the two, but wins nonetheless, both of them very important. The Browns are in danger of getting kicked all the way out of the playoffs here if they lose this one and some things go wrong for them. For the Texans, however, they're right now in the 8th seed, and they have to win, or have to probably win out to make this one. Currently, they're tied with the Colts and Jaguars for the division, so a lot of things can happen. Indianapolis must take advantage of this opportunity. Not Indianapolis. The Texans must take advantage of this opportunity. I think, do you have a weakened Browns team? You got to score 20, 21 points, and that can be enough for a win. You are at home, whether Stroud comes back or not. I'm going to take the Texans because the Browns look very shaky to me, and it's not a sustainable way they're playing right now. So give me the Texans. Lions and Vikings.
Well, welcome back, Lions. We were starting to worry about the Lions because it looked like something may be wrong in Detroit. But here they are. They invite the Broncos up to Detroit and just stomp out Sean Payton. And Sean Payton and Russell Wilson were arguing on the sidelines. Very childish, guys. Keep it to a minimum. Act like you've been here before. The Lions are back, though. They are back in top shape. I think that was their lull, because we see that all the great teams go through a lull somewhere in the season. And luckily, they are over it now, and they're back to stomping out teams. They are one of the best teams in the league, no doubt about it. The Vikings are not, regardless of who the quarterback is. CJ Beathard or whoever you're going to throw out there, the Lions are going to be winning this one on the road.
Wow. Okay, so this has division implications for the Vikings, who are inexplicably, from my point of view, still in the playoffs today. I have no idea how those 7 wins happened. To be honest, I blinked and I missed it. Feels like they were one of the worst teams all year. Lions are taking care of business. Lions are winning this one. They are in the hunt for the potentially 1 seed is very, very much feasible, but they're currently tied with the Eagles and the Cowboys record-wise. So they're in the hunt for the 2 seed and potentially hosting a playoff game or even 2, which would be a great success for the Lions. So this is probably their best season on record, I want to say, at least since like the early 70s, something like that. Absolutely. So Lions are taking advantage here. They are going to beat the Vikings, take care of the division, and look for potentially higher goals. We're going to see a legitimate Lions playoff team for the first time in a very, very long time. And I'm picking them at Minnesota, and they're getting things done. We have a tank bowl between the Washingtons and the Jets.
Ah, man. This is very, very tough. Sam Howell went out of this game because he was playing so horribly, and Jacoby Brissett came in and actually put up some points, but overall the entire team got stomped out. So did the Jets. Both of these teams are really bad right now, and it's regardless of what quarterback you put out there. They both got stomped out. These teams are on equal footing at this point in time, and I really don't know who to pick here. Do I want to see Jacoby Brissett come in here and get a win, who is capable sometimes? He's by no means a great quarterback. But Sam Howell may be back in here. Who knows? But the Jets are so bad. But they can pull off wins. Either one of these teams have pulled off surprising wins at some point. You know what? I'll just go with my first guess. For no apparent reason, I will be picking the Commanders on the road.
I honestly have a very, very hard time picking this game, mostly because I really can't convince myself that either of these teams is capable of winning a game at the moment, the way they've been playing. But I have more faith right now in the Jets. So I will take the Jets. I think their defense is better, and I think Zach Wilson can every once in a while create a winning game like he did 2 weeks ago. He played the best game of his career, and then he immediately turned around and the entire offense was garbage just last weekend. So inconsistent, but if he's playing well, if he's playing fine, even just fine is enough, this team can win games. This whole talk about Aaron Rodgers coming back, and I personally see no reason whatsoever. Even if he could medically play, there is zero reason why he would want to, or why anyone around the team would allow him to, given that the only thing that would do is just risk another injury that would cost him his offseason. So the playoffs basically out of the picture. I think there's no point in bringing Aaron Rodgers back to the field. Let him recover properly and bring him back for next year. Draft around him, for God's sakes. But The Washington Commies have been the worst team since the trade deadline. Sam Howell's had a decent start to the season, got the floor torn out under him, and that's going to continue during the offseason. There's new ownership in town. That head coach is going to be gone. Most of the coaching staff's going to be gone, and maybe the quarterback. Maybe the majority of this roster is going to be gone. So big rebuild coming up for Washington. I'm taking the Jets in a very low scoring game to get it done here. Seahawks at the Titans.
Yeah, this was tough also, because the Seahawks are not a good team, and yet somehow they beat the Eagles, who are a 10-win team. I do understand it. I think the Eagles are going through their lull of the season, and I don't think the Eagles are as good as their record. So the Seahawks pull off a win like that because they were at home with the 12th man out there. The Titans lost that heartbreaker to the Texans in a game they should have won. Derrick Henry's looking old, by the way. I think this may be... I doubt this is Derrick Henry's last season, but I think this is Derrick Henry's last super productive season. He might be like Frank Gore and just play forever and, get 5 to 10 touches a game because he's built like that. But this may be his last productive season. We won't look at him as an elite running back after this season. Man, I really don't know who to go with. You know what? I've picked too many road teams so far. So for no other reason than it's the home team, I'm going to go with the Titans again and hope that they don't let me down. So I will be picking them at home.
Oh man, tough game. I want to say one thing though. Frank Gore did not get 5 to 10 touches a game, even in his later years, like in his mid to late 30s as a running back. As long as it was with the Niners, he ran 25 times a game. He was a workhorse.
Not when he hit like
34
or 5 or whatever it was in his
no, when he started going around the league, he was part of a split backfield with the Colts and Jets and the Dolphins. He was not the workhorse anymore. But Derrick Henry's not quite at that age also. So
I think he's like
that. All being said,
28 or 29.
Yeah, so he's got probably at least a couple more years. But we'll see. I mean, the Titans look like they're going to be rebuilding a bit. Let's see what happens there in the offseason. Maybe they decide to stick with Will Levis. I think he's been promising, but they have to certainly build a lot of pieces around him. Whether Mike Vrabel will live to see that day, I have no idea. But for this game, given what happened last weekend, of course I'm rooting for the Titans. Let's be clear there, because I don't want any NFC West team in the playoff side for the Niners. I'll take the Seahawks, if for nothing else than as a reward for them beating the Eagles, because that's exactly what I needed them to do. For once, they did something right. The one time I needed the Seahawks to win, they did. Good job, Seattle. I'm gonna go wash my mouth after this, but I'm taking Seattle to win again at Tennessee, just because I think they're the better team, not because I want them to this time, but I guess they Drew Lock looked great. I mean, Drew Lock played really, really well. Seahawks apparently are just picking up quarterbacks from terrible situations and turning them into serviceable starters. Who would have thought? Jacksonville at the Bucks.
Another tough one because the Bucks looked like world beaters last week, and Jaguars look like they have fallen out of their elite position. Definitely in that division, they should be really worried because the Texans are nipping at their heels, and this is going to be close. Even the Colts are right there on them. This division is going to come down to the wire. Man, I don't like the Bucks at all, but I don't even like Baker Mayfield. But the guy actually looks like he's an elite quarterback in certain games, at certain times in certain games. But then he always blows it. So should I believe the Jaguars are so beat up though? The Bucks have some momentum here, and the Jaguars don't. I want to believe in Trevor Lawrence over Baker Mayfield any day. But you know what? I think I'm going to go with recent momentum here. And I think the Jaguars are just too beat up, and it may be post-type sleepers next season for the Jaguars. But for right now, I'm picking the Bucks at home.
Man, picking the Bucks. If I say this, if the Bucks win this one, it could mess up the playoff picture in both conferences in a big way. Because Jacksonville right now is comfortably sitting in the fourth seed for the AFC. They might be out of the playoffs if they lose just one more game, with the Colts and Texans both there to usurp them. And then there's a plethora of teams with the same record. So if they lose, Buffalo, they're out. They're done for. They'll be 9th or 10th in the division, in the conference, which is crazy to think. And the Bucks, on the other hand, with a win, could cement their position there because they already have the tiebreaker in their division. If they win another one, especially here against Jacksonville, this could be big. Baker Mayfield had a phenomenal game last week. He did great, and the Bucks are looking like probably the best team in the division right now. I don't really know what's getting me to do this, but I'm picking the Jaguars. I feel like it's mandatory for Jacksonville to take this one, given the pressure that they're under, and they are in a better division than Tampa Bay. They should be the better team. I'm taking Jacksonville. I think Tampa Bay is coming back down to earth. I think they're also kind of a streaky team. I don't think Baker can have back-to-back games the way he did, and Jacksonville gets it done. Cardinals at the Bears in another Tank Bowl.
Yeah, that's Tank Bowl. But as we've seen, the Bears can actually score points on elite defenses. So that's why I've been going with the Bears, because they are surprisingly good to be as bad as they are. As contradictory as that sounds, this team is actually good to be that bad. I don't understand it, but the Cards are not. I mean, the Cards are still one of the worst teams in the league, and their quarterback situation is in peril. So right now, I've got to go with the home team, and I'm just going to say the Bears at home.
Man, I think I have to agree with you on that, even though it's another one of those where I really can't envision any team really winning, but one of them has to. I will say this, the Cardinals ran the ball very well against San Francisco, and if the Niners didn't have the kind of unstoppable 40 points a week offense that they do, this would have been a very close one, because the Niners defense underwhelmed, especially in stopping the run. So James Conner, Kyler Murray didn't do much by himself with his feet, but this offense has some bite to it, especially in the run game. And I believe it could be a difficult matchup here at Chicago, but on the other hand, the Bears have been close a couple of times and haven't won, and somehow, this is another one that's crazy to me, the Bears actually have won 5 games this year, which I can't explain. To me, they seem like the kind of team that would have won 2 or 3 at most, but they've won 5. They are at home. Chicago wins. Close one, I think. Maybe underrated game. Could be very watchable. Could be quite good. I think Chicago gets it done. Cowboys at the Dolphins. The first of 2 games of the week.
And in quite a few of these games, the bad games and the good games could be shootouts, which makes the bad games good games in the end. But man, this is, like I said, one of the games of the week right here, and there's 2 of them. And the Cowboys are coming off of a horrible loss to the Bills. The Dolphins are coming off of a great beatdown victory of the Jets. I think the Dolphins may be getting over their low. We'll see if they can beat a good team. I bet a lot of people are going to pick the Cowboys because of that, just because the Dolphins haven't quite beat a really good team yet this season. But are the Cowboys actually good? We don't know, because they lose to good teams also. What's going to happen here? I don't think anybody knows until it happens on the field, but I'm going to go with the home team and give them 3 points and say that the Dolphins win in a shootout.
I'm going with the Dolphins as well here. Cowboys did a service in beating Philadelphia and showing them the ropes and showing them where they stand. And then Buffalo came down, and the Cowboys had no answer to that run game at all. The Dolphins lead the entire league in yards. I think they're top 3 in passing and top 5 in rushing yards. They can beat you whatever way they want to. The reason that people don't talk about the Dolphins more is because they haven't beaten a good team. I think it ends this week. I think the Dolphins get a resounding win over the Dallas Cowboys. And I think they're going to probably rise up to as much as number 3 in the Super Bowl odds, which is something that they've been criminally underrated. Their players, like Tua in the MVP, as we've talked about earlier, has been criminally underrated, and that's really the case for the entire team so far. Even given the record right now, the Dolphins are 4th behind the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. And that's only because the Cowboys and Eagles fell off so drastically. Before then, they were, I think, number 6 or number 7 even. I think they take care of business here. They beat Dallas, and they are going to be looking up. They're going to be looking good. They're going to be fighting for that home game. Of course, Buffalo is in the rearview mirror. We know that now. The Bills are no joke. And I think Dolphins themselves will feel that urgency. Knocking off Dallas, certainly I'll be rooting for them, because I would love to see that on Hard Knocks a second time. Taking the Dolphins at home to defend and get it done, probably with the run game, as that has been exposed as a profound weakness in the Cowboys defense. Tank Bowl between the Patriots and the Broncos. I guess the Broncos aren't technically tanking, but I kind of want them to be.
No, they're 7-7. They still have playoff hopes here. And like I said, I kind of want them to win because I picked them to be the post-time sleeper, so I just want that trend to be fulfilled. But I don't like the Broncos. I never have. I even rooted for the Panthers against the Broncos in the Super Bowl a few years back, which was hard, but I just dislike the Broncos, and I dislike Sean Payton. And that goes back to the Saints thing. And he's a horrible person, in my opinion. Say what you will about his coaching, but he's not a good person, and I hate his post-game press conferences. It makes you want to see him lose. But then again, I like seeing Bill Belichick lose also. And I've never had love for the Patriots. These are like the two least favorite teams in the entire league facing off here. And I'm just going to say that I got to go with the trend that the Broncos are supposed to make the playoffs this year. So they're still going to, and they're going to do that by beating the Patriots right here at home.
Yeah, I guess I have to agree with that. I'm not really sure who I'm rooting for, if anyone. Maybe, also weird to say this, but maybe I'm rooting for the Patriots because I just don't want to see anything of the Broncos, and I would love to see them just keep collapsing with the whole ship. You know, Sean Payton, Russell Wilson. Whenever you get this like congregation of people that you don't like coming together for a team, you just double and triple root for them to just go down with the ship. And that's kind of the case for me with the Broncos at this point. I'm taking them to win because they've shown the ability to produce offensively, something the Patriots have struggled to do, but certainly not a very good or watchable game. For me, this is at 2 a.m. I'm not staying up for that one. I doubt a lot of people will. So I'm taking the Broncos, but don't have high expectations for it. But one that is interesting to me, Raiders and the Chiefs.
Absolutely. The Raiders were set to break all kinds of records going into halftime in that game. And it looked like a historic beatdown. And Aiden O'Connell looked like Patrick Mahomes out there over the Chargers. And it actually cost a coach his job because the Raiders just absolutely whooped the Chargers that bad. Man, so the Chiefs are not as good, though. And Patrick Mahomes is throwing a fit in every game now, it seems like. You're the poster boy for the NFL. You can't be out there just jumping up and down and screaming if a call doesn't go your way or a play doesn't go your way. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. You got to be better, but he doesn't have the pieces around him that he's had in the past. I still think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I don't know if this exact season he is the best quarterback in the league, to tell you the truth. And that's relevant to the MVP race. That's why he's not in it right now, because the Chiefs are on a down season, but they're still the Chiefs. And Andy Reid still knows how to win regardless of who's on the team. The Raiders are coming off that huge beatdown, but it's still Aiden O'Connell. I can't pick Aiden O'Connell to beat Patrick Mahomes in a face-off, so I'll be sticking with the Chiefs at home.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see this upset just for the joke of it, right? If Aiden O'Connell could somehow get one over on him, but realistically, I don't. Chiefs had such a grip on this division for a few years now, and given that their record is not untouchable at the moment, they are by no means safe with what the Broncos are doing now. I think they'll feel the urgency to go out and win this one. They got their get-right game against the Patriots. They urgently need it, and I think they're lucky in that they're playing a very weak last quarter of their season. They have 4 pretty much pushovers in the last 4 games, and they should be able to beat the Raiders here. But let's see. I'm definitely excited for this one. This should be an interesting one, but I'm still going with the Chiefs. Get it done at home. Giants and the Eagles.
You know, watching the Giants game this past week, I am amazed that Tommy DeVito got any wins this season. It's quite a feat that he was able to, because this is absolutely the worst offensive line in the entire league. Another 7 sacks on the quarterback this past week, because that offensive line is absolutely atrocious. They're going to have to fix that if they're ever going to win any games in the future. But it's still amazing that DeVito was able to pull some out. He just couldn't do it this week against the Saints, unfortunately for me. The Eagles are bad too. They're on their lull, like I said, and I don't think they're as good as their record. This team has been kind of a fraud all year, but they've pulled out some wins. They pulled out quite a few wins. I just don't think they're that good. It's kind of like when the Falcons had their Super Bowl run and ended up losing also. The next season, they won a lot of games, but they just weren't the same team, and you can see it here with the Eagles also. And unfortunately, it went south in the playoffs for the Falcons, and it's probably going to go south in the playoffs for the Eagles. But for right now, since they're facing one of the worst teams in the league with the worst offensive line, I'll still pick the Eagles to win this one at home.
Yeah, give me the Eagles. Man, the Eagles have lost 3 straight after losing just 1 of their first 11. The wheels have fallen off, and exactly what they need is a game against a complete pushover, right, in the Giants here. How fun would it be if Tommy DeVito managed to beat these Eagles and give them a full month without a win? I mean, that would be hilarious. I would love to see that. And at that point, I mean, the Eagles have clinched the playoffs, I believe. Yeah, the Eagles have clinched the playoffs due to the NFC being terrible. That's the only reason. If they win the AFC, there's actually a legitimate chance for them to be kicked out if they lost out. Doesn't happen in the NFC. The Eagles have clinched even though they lost 3 straight. So the Eagles are in. Rooting for the Giants, to be sure. Let the Eagles fall as low as they can. Tommy DeVito would be a great way to win. This is also, I guess, the Italy Bowl in a sense.
Yeah.
With Tommy DeVito, and then the Eagles, of course, acting and dressing up like a mafia family or something.
Yeah, exactly.
On the sidelines with their big goons and everything. Who, by the way, that big fat guy from Philly, like the security goon, he's been banned from the sideline for the rest of the regular season.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, good move. But I have to ask, why just the regular season? Like, can you bring him back in the playoffs and just have him start another fight and get himself and an opposing player ejected? Like, that's the whole reason he's there, right? Yeah. He's supposed to give them an advantage by like provoking players. So why is a non-coach allowed to be like on the front lines and like walking out on the field and like getting into players' fight? I have no idea why that happens, but I'm glad the league took a look at it and at least ban him for the rest of the regular season. Shouldn't happen ever again. I don't know why they get to do that. I'm rambling about this one. Eagles win. However, I wouldn't bet money on it because they've been really bad. They've looked completely inept offensively. Jalen Hurts got outplayed by Drew Lock just now. Give me the Eagles because it's the Giants, but it'd be interesting to watch, and I hope the Giants win. Game of the week and the conspiratorial Super Bowl matchup in February, given the colors of the Super Bowl logo. Man, this is currently the favorite for between all Super Bowl matchups. This is currently by far the highest likelihood, according to all betting books. Is there something to this logo color thing? The Ravens and the Niners?
I don't know, because I still think last year that was more Dolphins colors than Eagles colors. So I don't really know that I believe in it. But maybe if this game goes down just the right way, that we may be setting up for that, and we may see a rematch in the Super Bowl. Just so happens that the two of the front runners for the MVP are matching up here, like I mentioned earlier. I don't know that I believe in the conspiracy. I'll wait. If it does happen, I'll say, yeah, maybe there is something to that. But as of right now, I don't know. This is going to be a good game, though. It really is. 2 running offenses. Well, the Ravens are out of Keaton now. So I just saw that they're bringing back Melvin Gordon back to the team. So I guess it's going to be mostly Gus Edwards at running back. But this team is so good on the ground. But so are the 49ers. You got Christian McCaffrey, probably one of the best running backs of all time. I mean, it's up there with like Dickerson and Emmitt Smith and LaDainian Tomlinson and all those guys now. He's absolutely in that picture as the greatest running back of all time. The 49ers are too good to be stopped, man. And this is in San Francisco on Christmas. Yeah, man, I can't go with the Ravens here. The 49ers are just too good. I think this is going the 49ers direction. Although, if it does happen that way, 49ers win this game, I would be really worried if that is the Super Bowl matchup if I were you, because the Ravens might be getting their revenge in the Super Bowl if it all plays out that way. But as for right now, taking the 49ers at home.
Taking the Niners at home. Listen, this is the MVP game, okay? Everyone's get ready for this. Mm-hmm. This is the MVP game. After this game, Brock Purdy is the MVP. If he sat out the last 2 weeks, he'd be the MVP after this game. He has gone face-to-face with Dak Prescott, blew him off the building. He's gone face-to-face with Jalen Hurts, blew him out of the building. He's now going face-to-face with the last person that's really a threat to him that's not on his own team for the MVP, which is Lamar Jackson. And guess what? He's going to blow him out the building. Lamar Jackson, I get why people make his MVP argument. I don't agree with it. I get why they do it. He's a dynamic player. He can pass and run. He's the rare running quarterback who has developed into a solid passer to the point where he can win games both ways. More often than not, his stats are not sublime. He puts up average numbers. If you look at his total yards, he in the last game, he has combined for just under 300 yards passing and rushing, and he's been responsible for 1 touchdown and 1 turnover. That is average. That is league average in 2023. As simple as it gets. He has the same record. The Ravens are a phenomenal team. Purdy's the better quarterback. He's been the better quarterback all year. He's the favorite. If he beats Jackson and outplays him this weekend, I think there cannot be any more doubts. He's beaten everyone they could have asked him to beat. And at that point, he's going to be the NFL MVP. So, most important game of Brock Purdy's life for sure, to lock up that award, and I will be there for all of it. Niners win. And as for the Super Bowl color thing, if this turns out to be the Super Bowl matchup, the Ravens and Niners, will you give it any credit, or are we still waiting another year?
No, I think if it does happen, I will buy in. I'm not gonna say definitely, even if it does happen, but I'll be leaning toward it being a conspiracy at that point. Absolutely, because I don't know. You would think though, if the whole world caught on to it, that the NFL would go, okay, well, we can't do that because everybody's going to see it coming. Everybody knows about it now. We can't just roll right into it with everybody expecting that to happen, because then it's obviously a conspiracy. So I don't think this is the Super Bowl matchup. But if it does happen, you can't really just throw that idea out the window. You're like, okay, there has to be something to this. We'll see what they have next year. And if that happens, then there's no way it's not a conspiracy. I mean, we can just start placing our bets on whatever the color of the logo is from that point on.
That's true. Which would make me think, as soon as like the mainstream catches, if so, assume it was a conspiracy, and it's really true that for some reason the NFL can predict and script with such certainty the 2 teams that are going to be in the Super Bowl during the regular season, like halfway through the regular season or whatever. Assume that is true for a second. As soon as it happens like 3 times in a row, the mainstream will catch on, for absolutely. Sure. And as you said, that's a surefire way to infinite money, right? You just bet on the right teams. At that point, they have to intentionally switch it up, right? So let's say next year, the Super Bowl, let's say the script for next year says like Eagles and Bills, right? Just hypothetically. So they have to like intentionally make the Super Bowl not be green and blue. Because any other case, like they're just done for, right? So it's like would be kind of funny cat and mouse game, but I'd find it funny. Of course, they started doing this color thing with the 2 colors and a new logo only 3 years ago. So far, it's matched both times. I mean, I don't believe it either. Obviously, I'm joking about this, but I just find it funny that it happened twice in a row, and that right now the most likely of the matchups is that the one that exactly matches the colors for this year's logo.
Yeah,
all I'm saying. I find that funny.
It'd be really weird though if that's how it plays out.
3 times in a row is pretty, like if for it to happen once with how many teams share colors is not a big coincidence. Twice, like understandable. 3 times already, especially a purple team, because there's only 1 purple team in each conference. That's that's pretty good. You add the other 2 to that is at least something. But we will see.
We're definitely not seeing the Vikings go to the Super Bowl.
We're not seeing. I mean, they're technically in the playoffs. I mean, they're in it, right? It would have to be the Vikings against like the Chiefs, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if somehow the Vikings got lucky enough to still be in the playoffs after the next 3 games and actually win these playoff games, which is hilarious because there's no way, like it can't happen, then it would have to be the Chiefs. The way
it's looking right now, if the season ended, the Vikings would have to win at Dallas, at Detroit, and at San Francisco to go to the Super Bowl.
I don't think that's possible at all.
I highly doubt it, right? Nick Mullins. I mean, it's a theoretical possibility, but of course, everyone's thinking Niners, Ravens, right? When you see the red and purple, those are 2 of the 2 1 seeds at the moment, simply put. So that's like 98% chance those are the 2 teams it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, man. Yeah. I did want to say something about Lamar, though, because you were talking about how efficient of a passer he is. And, I don't think he's really legitimately just one of the most efficient passers. I think that he draws a certain coverage. You have to put a spy, and sometimes two spies, on Lamar because of his running ability, which in turn makes him one of the best and most efficient passers because he's got open field out there. He's got extra room that other quarterbacks don't have the luxury of. Purdy, in Purdy's defense, he doesn't have that option. I know you like to say he can move a little bit, but he's a slow quarterback. Let's not be let's be truthful about this. He can't move like Lamar Jackson at all. So that actually makes him a much better passer than Lamar, in my opinion. But he does have that extra weapon that he can move when he needs to. So, I don't know. Lamar's still a great quarterback. But, yeah, just kind of making the defense that Purdy is probably the MVP right now.
Yeah, absolutely. He absolutely is. It's not even close. Absolutely, yes. And he will make that case and set it in stone this weekend. That's what I believe. How many games do we disagree on here?
3.
We have Which ones are those?
The Commanders and Jets, the Seahawks and Titans, and the Jaguars and Bucks.
Okay. I'm feeling all right. I think the Seahawks, honestly, I feel the best about.
Yeah.
I mean, they just got done beating the Eagles. Right?
Yeah, and I wanted to say that, but the Titans have the home field advantage, and they should have won last week. And even though the Seahawks beat the Eagles, I don't think they're a good team because I don't think the Eagles are as good as people think they are. I don't know. I mean, they still have a terrible record, so I'm still sticking with the Titans. I think they can pull this off.
That's fair.
Will Levis,
we'll see.
Levis is developing, too. I think he's going to be good in the future. I think Will Levis is absolutely capable. He's much better than Sam Howell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do agree with that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Well, we'll see. Feel pretty good about this one. There's some good games. This is going to be a good week. Very good weekend ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't wait. So again, we have a poll out on our channel page. You can go vote for your favorite to win the NFL MVP. I want to see the results for this week, and I want to see if we have the majority finally on Brock Purdy's side, which I think has only happened once this entire year that Brock Purdy was actually the fan favorite. So let's see how it goes this week. I'm definitely picking him. You've picked him by now, and for anyone who doesn't pick him, I'd love to hear why. Like, what's the reasoning for taking another player still above Purdy? But we'll talk about it again next week. We'll have more clarity when he has played Lamar Jackson as well. Do you, Smokey, have anything to add for this week?
No, I think that's it for this week.
Okay, then thank you everybody for watching. Drop us a like, go vote for your favorite to win MVP, and we will see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check